A better future. "You'd think they could have waited until your corpse was cold," said Tamira angrily. On the street below the balcony were two large wagons. Furniture and furnishings were being unloaded from one with some care, and loaded into the other with a slapdash lack of concern for any damage. Maxatius sipped his porcelain bowl of black herbal tea without any obvious display of emotion. Tamira realised he was probably feeling serene right now. She winced internally at what kind of emotional state he would be in when the drug wore off. "After all the years of service?" she tried again. It was clear she was significantly more upset than her uncle was. Maxatius waved it away.
"It's simply good statecraft," he said, his voice level. "Someone was going to have to take the fall, and it makes sense that it is me. I am a little irritated that I didn't see it coming, if I'm honest. I think it might even be for the best when a stratagem like this takes me by surprise. The settlement is more than satisfactory to see out the rest of my years, and even if it had not been, I do not think the version where I fled to be with my friends in the principalities would have ended half as well. My home is here, and I doubt the Jarmish would be especially welcoming given the circumstances."
"It just makes me angry," said Tamira, "to treat you like this, all to make some conniving—" He cut her off with a firm hand on her shoulder.
Now, he said a little distantly, there really is no need to be so angry on my behalf. Our ancestors know what happened here, and so does everyone who counts. Anyone who doesn't know doesn't count and can be ignored. Given a choice between my good name and the safety of our country, I would make the same decision every time."
He put his empty tea bowl down on the little mahogany side table, his hands surprisingly steady for a man who had barely an hour ago given the most humiliating speech of his long life. He looked across to his offices for the first time, and the ghost of a frown briefly appeared on his brow before fading into the quietude that filled his spirit.
"Please don't fret," he said. "You're welcome to stay, but I have something rather important to get to, and I'd appreciate you leaving me to it for an hour or two. There's a certain letter I have been looking forward to writing, and I think the sooner I get it done, the better."
The shadow of a smile, grim as death, flickered over his lips, and then was gone. His face returned to the quiet, self-contained mask of serenity. But something shadowed his dark eyes that belied that fleeting tranquility. Overview. Each season, the civil service prepares a summary of the Empire's relationship with foreign nations based on communications received from their ambassador, along with any useful intelligence gathered from other sources. While the Senate and the other houses of imperial power may respond to these offers, it is important to note that it is the appropriate ambassador that the foreign power will expect to hear from. Their communication with the foreign power is the primary element that will determine the tenor of any response. Imperial relations with the citadels of Axos are significantly improved over where they were a year ago, in part due to the involvement of imperial priests in the reclamation of the ruins of Saloka. There are still pitfalls, though. The Axu are proud and touchy about their sovereignty and position in the world. They are members of the Liberty Pact, but they know they are only there thanks to the Empire, on the sufferance of the Commonwealth and the Sumar. In recent months, the small nation to the south of the Malum is clearly undergoing a level of internal upheaval thanks to the ambitions of Grand Ilarch Kytha. That upheaval has taken an unexpected turn as spring fades away. For the last decade and a half, the Axu ambassador to the Empire has been Ilarch Maxatius of the Towers of Cantor. They were the primary point of contact for Imperial citizens wishing to communicate with the smaller nation, although they often seemed exasperated by the attitudes of the much larger neighbour to their west. As the summer solstice approaches, it becomes apparent they are no longer the diplomatic advisor to the Grand Illarks of the nation. School and scandal. A breach of the Liberty Pact has been identified by Fintan Nighthaven. The Aksu Grand Illarks have denied all knowledge and placed responsibilities squarely on Illark Maxatius. The scandal has led to the formal creation of a Grand Council to deal with national affairs. Illark Maxatius' failure has seen them removed from their position as ambassador. Ambassador Fintan Nighthaven has apparently sent an extremely concerned note to Illark Maxatius demanding an explanation for the Prince Mila School of the Belligerent Art. Reportedly, a collaboration between the Halls of Makop and the Principalities of Yarm studying war magic. There seems to be little doubt that such a facility is a clear breach of the Liberty Pact for a number of reasons. It contravenes both the principal requirement that no signatory to the pact will provide meaningful military assistance to any nation that finds itself at war with a signatory of the pact, and the Summer 384YE amendment that all signatory nations will apply a trade embargo to Yarm. As the ambassador points out, the existence of the school is sufficient grounds to expel Axos from the Liberty Pact. By all accounts, after the letter arrived, the outraged Grand Illarks of the other 4 citadels demanded an explanation from Grand Illark Cleoparia of Makop. The details are not public knowledge as the meeting took place behind closed doors, but the official statement from Axos is very clear. A faction within Makop acted without the oversight of the Grand Illark herself, and under the very nose of Illark Maxatius, who ultimately should have been alert enough to ensure that this scandalous error did not take place. As such, the Grand Illarks have demanded the resignation of Maxatius, which he has since provided. The Prince Mila School of the Belligerent Art has closed its doors, and the Yarmish left in no doubt as to the reasons for this happening. A further outcome of the meeting is a shake-up of the political situation at the highest ranks of Axos. Grand Illark Kyther of Kabian has been calling for greater cooperation between the citadels for some time, and this revelation of a potential breach of the vital Liberty Pact has proven the need for unity. As such, a formal Grand Illarks Council will now replace the former informal meeting of the leaders of the 5 citadels. It will meet 4 times a year, with each citadel taking it in turns to host, to ensure that no one citadel is able to make the kind of decision that might endanger the entire nation. The first order of business for the Grand Council is to replace Illark Maxatius. After extensive discussion, they have appointed Illark Cario Skopsos, a scion of the Skopsos family of the Chambers of Issyk. One of the requirements the Grand Illarks have placed, however, is that Illark Skopsos must renounce their ties to their citadel for as long as they hold the post. Instead, they will be known as Illark Skopsos of Saloka, where Maxatius was often accused of being partisan to the benefit of the Towers of Cantor. Cario will remain neutral in the politics of the citadel, reporting directly to the Grand Council and representing their will, and through them, the will of the people. The second order of business for the Grand Council of Axos is to thank the Imperial Ambassador Fintan Nighthaven for their forbearance and understanding in this matter, and the excellent advice they delivered regarding ways to deal with this unfortunate development. Without their insightful words and the warning that Illark Maxatius was mishandling the situation, this could easily have become a major crisis for the nation and their friendship with the Empire. The civil service are of the opinion that this is all very clearly a political play by one or more factions within Axos. The idea that the Grand Illark of Makop might have been unaware of a faculty working with Yarm to develop martial rituals is absolutely inconceivable. Illark Maxatius has clearly been required to take the fall for this embarrassment. The new ambassador is just as clearly a political appointment. Not very much is known about them, but it is very likely they are connected to the unity movement of Grand Illark Kyther. The Aksu are doubtless very keen to ensure that the Empire not share their discovery with the other members of the Liberty Pact. There is no doubt that Sumar and the Commonwealth would immediately demand Aksu be expelled from the Pact and expect the Empire to support them if they were made aware of it by a credible source. OOC note, this means a formal communication from either the ambassador to their nation or the Voice of Liberty. A casual missive from an unknown Imperial citizen is very unlikely to produce any reaction. Unified Convocation. A new unified convocation has been established in which a number of Aksu sects have formed a tentative philosophical alliance. The Grand Council is not the only change rippling through Axos society. In the wake of the recent cleansing of Saloka, Theodosia of Ipatavo has established a permanent presence in the ruins of the citadel. At the moment it takes the form of a humble temple surrounded by tents, but it is what it represents that might be of interest to the Empire. Several of the sects who worked on the reclamation of the haunted ruins, and it is worth noting that work is still continuing as the last ghosts and hauntings are dealt with, have come together to establish a unified convocation, the Ennius Synclisis in the old language of the Nikitis Aksu. It is clear that this convocation is modelled somewhat on the Imperial Synod, or at least its General Assembly. So far, only a fraction of the Aksu sects have indicated their intention to become a part of it, and others are refusing point blank to have anything to do with it. It's not clear at this point how much influence the convocation will be able to wield. The Aksu as a people may accept the religion they share, but few priests possess any political power. What is certain is that the Grand Illarchs will not allow it to pose a threat to their own power. Further details are limited, not least because the United Convocation itself is still very much in its early days, but the civil service suggests that while this change is likely due to the hard work of Theodosia, the obvious spiritual powers she wields, and the success of the Saloka project, it is also very much in line with the plans of Grand Illarch Caitha Deianira and their populist plan to unify and strengthen the nation against outsiders. From an imperial point of view, this could be a problematic development. It is all too easy to forget that the fundamental tenets of the Aksu religion is that the Creator is evil, the Labyrinth is a torture chamber, and the Imperial Synod is a tool for keeping humanity under the heel of an unspeakable spiritual tyrant. Black-sailed ships. Axos welcomes Imperial fleet captains. The quayside of the Chambers of Issyk are once again available to Imperial ships. Illarch Skopos is pleased that one of their first roles in their new position is to speak to the Empire about trade. For some time now, there has been only one port available to Imperial vessels, the port of Cantor. In the past, it has primarily focused on common trade goods, but now that the conservative Maxatius is no longer advising the merchants, that is likely to change. More excitingly, the new Aksu ambassador is happy to extend an invitation to Imperial fleet captains to visit the newly restored point of Issyk. Cantor. Cantor no longer offers orichalcum. Instead, it offers Aksu consumables, sable and blackened key. Following advice from Ambassador Nighthaven, the port of Cantor no longer provides orichalcum to Imperial vessels. Instead, a standard Imperial fleet that trades with Cantor will receive 2 doses of sable and 1 dose of blackened key. The former is a thick, black, syrupy liquid with a pleasant taste that quietens unpleasant feelings and is much favoured by everyone from high-status political leaders to the lowest competitor in the Aksu fighting pits. The latter is a drug that may be familiar to the Empire that allows the user to speak to the dead without the need to cast a spell. Issyk. The port of Issyk has reopened to Imperial captains. It now provides a range of Aksu esoterica. The docks at the Chambers of Issyk have been reopened and are also available to Imperial traders. There has been some sort of commotion involving the Sarkovan Delves and an attempt to get out of some kind of investment that delayed the matter for a season, but it has now been resolved. Illarch Skopos is non-committal about exactly how the investment issue has been resolved, but there are reports of inhumanly tall figures with skin the colour of polished metal being spied on the docks. Intervention from the Autumn Realm, perhaps. Regardless, Imperial fleet captains can trade with the Chambers following the summer solstice. The markets of Issyk specialise in Aksu esoterica, primarily peculiar consumables harvested and prepared by the apothecary sorcerers of the citadels. Instead of normal goods, fleets visiting Issyk will receive the following trade goods. Luxury goods, such as cunningly woven shrouds, death masks of bone and wood, subtly unsettling icons and statuettes, tomes of blasphemous and heretical philosophy, and the like. This is represented by cash, but characters are encouraged to create peculiar examples of Aksu art as souvenirs for use on the field. Bone dust. This mildly poisonous material is apparently literally made from ground bone, along with several other substances native to Axos. It is reportedly used by Aksu priests without access to Liao when they perform spiritual ceremonies. It is also known to provide peculiar dreamy visions of death and the dead. Tombstone, also known as Tarphos, a powder that when consumed insulates one from the emotion of fear. It is very popular with Aksu soldiers, pit fighters, criminals, and a small number of very dangerous ritual magicians. Repeated use of Tarphos apparently increases the threat of death, not because it is particularly venomous, but because an absence of fear can lead to users failing to run away from obviously fatal situations. Serenity, a prestigious drug that causes sensations of absolute calm and tranquility when consumed. It is apparently much favoured as a recreational substance by wealthy Aksu who appreciate the ability to put aside the worries of their day and relax, despite all the challenges of existing in such a dog-eat-dog society as the citadels of Axos. Lamia, a magical salve favoured by Aksu battle magicians and practitioners of winter lore. It reportedly acts a little like Whis, but with a narrower application. It provides power to rituals of winter magic that involve personal survival, although it is also known to have some odd effects on those who use it. Skopos mentions that these substances are somewhat dependent on supply, demand, and fashion. More so than Cantor, this might lead to a volatile situation where the actual trade goods available from Issyk might change without warning. All part of the excitement of international trade. The Tyrants of the Malum. The Kiklotu Karaisu trade cartel thanks the Imperial heroes who helped rescue a popular Agema from the Druge. The ambassador's assurance that the Empire plans to destroy the Druge has been well received in Axos. Grand Illarch Dancia Terikos of Ipatavo is sending an emissary to discuss related matters with General Gabriel Barossa. The emissary will arrive in Anvil at 12:30 on Sunday afternoon. Illarch Skopos offers thanks to the Empire, especially Lith as the Eastern broker, for their aid in the rescue of Menoetius of Issyk. As a representative of the Kiklotu Kirosu trade cartel and respected Agema, what could have been a blow to the morale of the Eastern nation has instead become a public relations coup for the Empire. There had been talk that the Kiklotu Kirosu may have considered withdrawing from investment in the Empire, with a glowing testimonial from one of their ranking members that seems unlikely in the immediate future. It is very likely that the timely resolution of this situation has also contributed to the decision of the Chambers of Issyk to expedite an invitation to Imperial traders to visit their newly expanded quayside. Perhaps just as relevant, Finton Nighthaven has offered bold assurances that the Empire have no intention of letting the Druge, who had captured Menoetius and intended to turn them into a tortured soul, to go unchallenged. They say that not only will Tharunin be recovered, but the Sarengrave and the Salt Flats of Sanath will also one day be freed from the blight of the Buruk Tapel. Their statement is apparently spread around the citadels and is very welcome, especially in Ipatavo and Kaban, who are all too familiar with the threat of the Druge. With that in mind, Grand Illarch Dancia Terikos of Ipatavo, once a general with a great deal of respect for Imperial soldiers, has instructed Illarch Skopos to inform the Empire that she will be sending an emissary to speak with Gabriel Barossa, the general of the Towerjacks, on a related matter. The emissary is expected to arrive at Anvil at around 12:30 on Sunday afternoon, and Skopos hopes that Ambassador Finton and either the general or his adjutant can meet with them. Grand Illarch Terikos understands that there are any number of reasons that this is not ideal, but it is the earliest the emissary can reach Anvil this season. Winter Magic. The Halls of Makeup offer an opportunity to cooperate on the codification of an Imperial arcane projection. This decision is in the hands of the Imperial Conclave. A single order could be guided to visit Makeup and help codify a chosen projection. The Shuttered Lantern might also be able to make particular use of this opportunity. The new ambassador, Illarch Cario, also presents an offer from the Grand Illarch and the Faculty of Makeup. The political embarrassment of some of their staff working with slavers has inclined them to reconsider past reticence to work with Imperial magicians. According to Ambassador Finton, the Archmage of Winter Ematius Ankarian has repeatedly inquired about collaboration on matters of winter magic. Given that the Empire has been so understanding about the unfortunate business with the Prince Mila School of the Belligerent Art, they wish to invite the Imperial Conclave to send a group of magicians to visit the Halls of Makeup and collaborate with Aksu scholars on the codification of a new winter ritual. Out of recognition for the honour the Empire does them by recognising that their understanding of the wasteland is greater than that of the Empire, they propose to produce 2 copies of the ritual text, one for their own extensive libraries and one for Imperial magicians. To take advantage of this offer, one of the Grand Masters must use a declaration of concord to guide their order to visit Makop. They must also name an arcane projection of the Winter Realm that has a magnitude no higher than 20. It will cost the Conclave 20 crystal mana to direct an order as usual. If this is done during the summer solstice, some members of the Order, those most experienced in the codification of new rituals, will visit Makop. By the start of the autumn equinox, a ritual text of the chosen arcane projection will be delivered to the Grand Master. In addition to the ritual text, there will be a chance to gather a little information about magical matters related to Makop's understanding of the Winter Realm. The nature of that discovery will depend on the order chosen and will be delivered as a few paragraphs in the Winds of Fortune rather than an individual briefing. There is one other minor consideration here. If the order that takes advantage of this opportunity is the Shuttered Lantern, then after the event and before the close of downtime, the Grand Master may email plot@profouндecisions.co.uk and confirm that the magicians they are sending will steal something from the libraries of Makop. If this is done, the Grand Master will receive a second ritual text. The Shuttered Lantern are experts. The librarians of Makop will not immediately notice the theft. That is not to say they will never work out what happened, especially if any Aksu is ever in a position to see a proprietary winter ritual being cast by Imperial magicians. Librarian and Bursar. Mistress Isiphenia of Makop has requested an opportunity for some of her students to spend a season at the Great Library of Herkinian. Mistress Isiphenia of Makop, a well-respected professor in the Faculty of Natural Philosophy, has been living in the Empire for nearly 4 years now. She organises a small group of students from Axos studying in the Empire and assists Imperial youths who might wish to study in Makop. She also helps operate the House of Spirits in Casanea, in conjunction with Rinna of the Shattered Tower, the Bursar of the House of Spirits. Without needing to go through the Aksu ambassador, she has raised a request. Several of her students are interested in spending a semester at the Great Library of Herkinian. Obviously, when the initial invitation to visit places of higher learning in the Empire was offered, the library had not yet achieved its current status as the greatest repository of lore about the doom of Taruniel in the world. The last thing she would wish to do would be to cause any kind of international incident, so she requests that the Bursar liaise with the advisor on the Valorn and see if it would be possible to achieve official permission to visit the library. Either the Bursar or the advisor should send a winged messenger to Ilark Skopos and confirm the invitation. They could, of course, also politely decline, request some favour in return, or do nothing at all. Mistress Isiphenia knows all about the complicated balancing act of academia. Ideally, though, if it is possible, they'd like a chance to do so sooner rather than later. The civil service advised a degree of caution following the request. Mistress Isiphenia is not offering any particular benefit to the Empire with this request, and while acceding to it will likely improve the attitude of the visiting students, it will also mean that Axos will quickly know as much about the Valorn as the Empire does, which might not be the best thing in the world given the presence at the heart of their nation of the Valorn of Vizakuma. At present, the Axos seem well inclined to support any attempt to link up the Valorn, but that position could well change if they realised what such an event might portend. The Empire might be able to survive a massive excursion by the Valorn, but it is much more doubtful that Axos could. The Good Doctor. A respected esoteric doctor with a special interest in memory loss is visiting Anvil. He intends to visit the Anvil Hospital to begin with, but is interested in seeing the sights. The doctor has requested an audience with the ambassador to Axos. He is due to arrive at around 1400 hours on Saturday. News of a potentially delicate matter comes to the embassy shortly before the solstice regarding a prestigious visitor to Anvil. Dr. Anastasis of Izek is planning to make a visit to the Empire during the summer summit. Anastasis is apparently a respected practitioner of magical medicine and an acknowledged master of dealing with maladies relating to memory loss. Ilark Skopos is a little vague on the reasons the good doctor is coming to Anvil, although the implication is more that Anastasis has not told the Aksu ambassador, rather than that they are trying to conceal them. Described by a few visitors to the citadels who have met him as polite, precise, and disturbingly well informed, He has let it be known that he is particularly interested in seeking individuals who've lost years of their memories either through trauma or ill-advised ritual experimentation. Anastasis would like to meet the ambassador to Axos himself, cryptically citing them as the only one who refused the offer of a creature that dwells between places. Ilark Skopos obviously expresses the hope that Dr. Anastasis' visit should go without a hitch. While he is mostly only known in very specific esoteric circles in Axos, he does come from a well-connected family, and it would be quite problematic if anything bad happened to him. He is expected to arrive at Anvil sometime around 2 in the afternoon on Saturday, and plans to begin his visit at the Anvil Hospital. Finally, an appeal for help. Evander Slack and Hippolyta of Caban seem to have disappeared. A small reward is offered for information about their whereabouts. One last matter concerns a pair of Axu merchants who visited Anvil several times over the last few years, selling Axu herbs and potions. Evander Slack and his business partner Hippolyta of Caban apparently retired last year with a large sack of Imperial money to their homes in the rebuilt tunnels of Caban. However, there is some concern that the pair have since gone missing. Neither they nor their small fortune has been seen in some months, and Ilark Skopos passes along concerns from the Grand Ilark of Caban that these two mini-celebrities might be in trouble. If anyone in the Empire has any idea where they might be, or can find out where they have gone, there will be a small reward related in size to the precision of the information. Obviously, there's no suggestion that the two have done anything wrong, just a concern that they might be in trouble and need assistance. Further reading. For further reading, please see the pages on Axos, Axos Religion, Ambassador to Axos, and Axos Ports.